Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Politdigm podcast. My name is Red, and I'm joined by my co-host Alpha.
Before we start, I just want to make it clear that I asked to be the one to do the intro today, and I was denied the privilege. So I am salty.
All right. Moving on. Today is the 13th of November, a special date for me personally, mostly because of that. Today, 1 year ago, I launched one of Politdigm's sister companies, so that's dope. Um, And a little bit of a warning before the episode starts. I am sick as fuck, so my voice is not okay right now. So I'm glad that I'm not going to be the main focus of today's episode. I am going to try to contribute as much as possible, mostly because Alpha asked me specifically to do so. But if my voice dies or I start coughing in the middle of the episode, now you know to expect it. And with that said, today a blog came out written by Alpha. Um, and before we do get into it, of course, don't forget that if you want to support us, you can do so over at Patreon. And if you do that and join our public Discord, you get access to some special channels where for in one of them you can submit questions for our podcast Q&A. Those questions will be answered at the end of each episode. So
And today we do have a question, which is it's a Zuzi one, so
I
it's
hope
gonna
it's
be
I hope it's better than last week's.
yeah.
So
It is, don't worry.
go ahead, Alpha. Go at it.
Okay,
Pop off
everyone.
queen.
So, like I said on the last episode of the podcast, I wasn't particularly proud of the blog that I wrote, and I felt that there was a lot of things that were missed because I simply did not have the time. So, this week's blog is still about the Indian tribes of the United States and many of the crimes that were committed against them, but specifically when it came to the systematic eradication of their youth's cultural heritage. So, fair warning, today is going to be another extremely heavy episode. I have shared a video with Red, which I find to be an extremely good video essay, like 10 minutes long, that opened my eyes to this problem. I did not know anything about the problem that I tackled on this blog before I watched that video about a year ago when it came out. So I highly recommend it. It's called Kill the Indian, Save the Man, Carlisle Boarding Schools by the channel Extra Credits, which in itself is worth to be followed and watched. I have watched that channel so many times throughout well, my early adolescent years and the later ones too, as I find that their short series on historical events and characters are really well executed on all levels. And they have other content besides that, which caters to almost every aspect of the YouTube consumer that is interested in history, literature, mythology, and even some odd stuff like games. Okay, with that being said, let's go into the blog, shall we?
Yes, go ahead.
You read the blog, Red?
Honestly, I started reading a little bit, but I did not have the time, unfortunately.
Okay,
So
so this is going to be kind of depressing.
I'm a little bit behind my literature. However, I am weirdly, surprisingly enough, kind of aware of this topic because it's something that I take interest in, anyways.
Yeah,
So I'll do my best to step in and add
yeah.
some I don't know,
Make it a
fucking
conversation instead of my
yeah.
ramblings.
So you don't fucking go insane like last time where I had to step in before he fucking either killed somebody on podcast. Question who, I don't know. You'd probably just find some random person on the street, or you just, I don't know, blow out your own brains. So let's try not
Yeah,
to make that repeat.
both
So
a depressing topic and sleep deprivation came together to make a
yeah,
perfect storm for my mental issues. But yeah,
pretty much.
so let's go back to the good old days. The good old days before 9/11, because it was the 15th century. And this fucker called Columbus just arrived into the Americas. And he sees a bunch of people and says, Yo, you bitches are Indian. And that's how the colonization process of the Americas began. God, I hate this period of history
Yeah, it's true shit.
so much. I hate it so much. And it pains me a lot to talk about it, but here we go. So, throughout the colonization of the American continent, there were a lot of attempts made and also a lot of actual schools founded by religious groups such as the Puritans and the Christian Church, the Catholic Church, sorry, uh, who had the goal to try and civilize, air quotes, and convert the different native tribes present in the continent. Of course, this all came under the notion that these people were lesser because, according to these European fucks, they did not have a culture. And seeing as though they did not have a culture, they weren't human, they weren't civilized, they were primitive. That's basically the backbone of European racism, by the way. It's this notion that these tribes with rich and diverse cultures did not have any cultures, and as such, they were subhuman.
Which is dumb because I mean,
Yeah,
it's basically just first of all, it's purely based on off of like European superiority, right? This idea that we are superior, which came with the concept of nationalism, of course, or the very early primordials of modern day nationalism, and it's always been an issue. Nationalism has always basically been the I wouldn't say the sole reason, but a big contributor what yeah sure
contributing. I don't know.
to why wars happened, because people get so full of themselves that they suddenly just lose their shit and decide, hey, this dumbass argument is worth killing people over it. And it also gave us this false sense of, hey, we are better than others, and these people who in many ways are we deem so different from ourselves are just worthless pieces of shit,
Yeah,
which is
this case,
disturbing. Is disturbing because when you really look into it, when you start really reading into what their cultures really were, I am of the opinion that honestly their cultures were one way more interesting than European culture,
yes,
and also way more like pure, right? Something that's much more less tainted by such bullshit. I don't know how.
Christianity.
Yeah, Christianity, and it's just such violence. They were peaceful, and yes, some of them had some wacky, goofy ass rituals, which in today's age can be seen as, I don't know, questionable. But regardless, like they did everything out of a place of, I don't know, of good will or whatever. Whilst we
Yeah,
were
we're
just,
not talking about human sacrifices here. We're not covering the Aztecs.
yeah. So, but we definitely like, whilst we were just huge dicks. Like holy shit,
Yeah,
we're just massive pieces of shit.
like I'm a big fan of pre-Christian mythology and folklore in the European continent. There are some very rich folklore tales that can be found before the Christians acted up. And I also am fascinated by a lot of the mythology of the American continent. But what's even more heartbreaking in this instance is that most of the European society only came to this conclusion as a way to justify to themselves as to why, so with them being supposedly enlightened and etc., as to why they could steal the land and enslave slash completely genocide these tribes. It's the right of discovery. I'm pretty sure that's the name. I covered it in the last podcast and on the blog. But yeah, so this idea that American native tribes are savages and civilized savages that need to be civilized and assimilated into the rightful European culture uh, has been uh, a basis for the crimes committed by the American people, the crimes committed against these tribes since the time that the Spanish fox settled on the coast of North America. Now, let's fast forward to another big event in the continent, which is called, you might have heard of it, Red, American Revolution.
No, I'm completely ignorant to this fact. In fact, it's definitely not talked in the history test I have tomorrow.
Yeah. So let me enlighten you in your uncivilized ways.
How dare you?
The the English and the French had land and
It's always the
colonies
fucking English and the French.
in
God
French.
fucking damn it.
It's the two racist cousins that you see at the party that you try to distance yourself from.
And they hate each other so much, yet they are so much alike. It's terrifying.
And one of them has a gun, and another has a knife and a gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they basically had these colonies, and the English said, "Yo, look at this line that we draw between our colony, the French colonies, and a bunch of uh, territory that has no owner. Let's not cross that because there are natives on the other side, and there are the French on the other side. And I don't know which is worse. So guys, you can settle here and chill." And they said, "Yeah, sure, English, we'll be right back." And then they didn't do that. Then they declared independence, and that's how the United States were born. So, throughout the American Revolution, untold atrocities were committed against the native tribes of America. Once again, we cover this on the last blog. This is a continuation, this is a follow up. If you have not read the last blog, I highly encourage you to do that before you continue watching this. I should have said that earlier.
Yeah, and if you want to get to the nitty gritty and feel the passion in Alpha's voice as he grumbles in a deep despair, listen to the blog. Listen to the blog to the podcast.
We have audio blogs now? We are evolving.
I mean, we could definitely do that in terms of being
One day, we gotta find a good editor.
in having getting Morgan Freeman to do it. That's the goal. That deep, beautiful voice.
Imagine writing an April Fool's blog and have Morgan Freeman read it out loud.
Ooh, that's a good idea. I'm writing that down.
Think tank, everyone.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so going back into untold atrocities committed by the humankind. After the American Revolution, George Washington and Henry Knox, I'm pretty sure that's his name, Henry Knox, right?
Don't know honestly.
Give me one
Also, George
second.
Washington, not to be mistaken
Henry Knox,
by famous
exactly.
actor Denzel Washington.
There's a fucking mosquito on my bitch ass. Both George Washington and Henry Knox consider that the Indian population they were no different from the Americans, but in terms of societal structures, once again, racism, they were vastly inferior and needed to be assimilated into the proud and strong and civilized and extremely enlightened American culture and society. You can see that near the region where we currently call Florida, there were the five civilized tribes, which were the. Give me one second, I have it in my notes. Um, which were. I have so many notes, goddamn. The Cherokee, the Chippewa, the Chickasaw, the Creek, and the Seminole tribes. I'm so sorry if I butchered one of those names because I probably did. And they were called the civilized tribes because they dressed, talked, and ate like Europeans. So you can see the racism coming in. I don't know if it's a bit heavy-handed. I hope not. But yeah, you gotta pay real attention to it so you can find these little details. So they had this mission to try and do exactly that, remove the cultural heritage of the different tribes and introduce the new enlightened citizens into the good old American culture. And one of the things that they did to help this process was in 1819 pass the Civilization Fund Act, which basically gave those religious schools and buildings financial backing to do exactly that, to take in children and adults, um, teach them that their ways were wrong, educate them according to English program doctrine and European doctrine, and convert them to their religions. And this went on for a while. And then in 1970, they said, "Yeah, your methods are not very modern. We gotta update this. I'm sorry, but yeah, no money for you." And that's when this guy called Richard Carlisle Pratt, which is the most American name I've ever heard, comes in. So, do you know anything about this guy, Red?
Yeah, I heard that he had for his time some pretty out there ideas. Um,
Yeah, he considered Indians and Native American, African Americans normal people.
yeah, however, whilst he considered them racially equivalent to us, he saw them as culturally lesser than us,
Yeah,
which is still bad, still pretty fucking bad. And therefore, he had a new approach to said, well, integration of those people within the American society.
yeah. But before we talk about that, it is important to give a small background check on this guy. So, during the Indian Wars, which is something that I did not cover on the last blog because there was so much. During the Indian Wars, Carlisle, I'm so sorry, Pratt was tasked with processing prisoners of war, which is when he came to terms with his new enlightened ideology of racial equality. And then, in later years, he was tasked with leading and commanding a military fort which served as a prison for prisoners of war, which most of the time were these Indian warriors. And he set up programs for them that would teach them in accordance with English school programs. And he gained a lot of notoriety within the American government and education system because he was seen as an extremely enlightened fella. Because at this time, if you didn't consider the Indian people of the United States as pests and something that should be eradicated from the face of the earth, you were enlightened and modern. So, Mr. Pratt fought in the American Civil War and he fought for the Union, even gaining command of a Buffalo Soldier unit. And then he came up to the American government and said, "Okay, guys, I see that you do not agree with the old doctrines of these religious institutions when it comes to civilizing our fellow Indians. So I got a proposal for you. Let's build
Oh,
this off reservation ground school manned by the government that I will be the head of, and I will instill a militaristic ranking and formation to the school in order to completely civilize our students."
wait. Say it with me. Say it with me. Okay, this is gonna be a little chant. Say it with me. Cultural erasure. There you go.
Guys, you think he's racist? Are we the baddies?
I think he is a massive piece of shit.
Yeah. What's worse, this school would not be a day school like the other institutions. It would be a boarding school, meaning the students would live in this school. And what's even worse is that there would be summer programs so that a lot of the students couldn't even return to their homes as they would be put into unpaid internships. So, this man gets the approval of the government because, once again, he's extremely enlightened.
Yeah.
So, he goes up to the chief of the Plain Tribes and says, "Yo, we kind of kicked your ass. You want to give us your children?" And they agreed because, goddamn, what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, have a gun.
And
Have a gun up to their head. Can we do it? Like we're asking you. We're
can I
not.
have your wallet?
Can I please, just please, very kindly take your children?
Yeah.
Just please.
So he took a bunch of students and also uh, other teenagers and young adults who were part of the other institution that which he ran, which was the said prison, also followed them. In the end, when he arrived at the school, he had his first class, which was composed of 147 students, whose ages range from 6 to 20 ish years old. Now, the American government told them, okay, what you're doing is legally kidnapping, so please involve the military as it will help de escalate. And that he did. The school itself was inside a former military base. It had it, he the Pratt was still a military officer, and once again the school was highly militaristic in its nature. As, for example, if you were a student which could already speak English, you would be awarded a medal and you would rise up into squads and companies.
I mean, in my opinion, I think they were dumb. Like they should have taken the modern approach to what they were doing back in the day, which is what the American police departments do, which is plant evidence, right? They should have planted evidence. They should have put a little baggie of coke in the pockets of the kids, right? So they had a reason to have them as prisoners. So it wasn't kidnapping anymore. They were just detaining them for crimes.
Oh, but Red, they had a reason to have them as prisoners. They weren't civilized savages. They were doing this for the greater good of bettering mankind. Give me 1 second. I threw up in my mouth a little. I gotta
Yeah,
go.
I gotta go clean myself with soap.
After this, I'm gonna take like 5 showers.
Yeah,
So,
and take bleach to the eyes.
first thing that happened when these children arrived at the school, you have watched the video that I sent you, so you know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Which was,
Wait, sorry. Say that again. I zoned out. Fuck.
I was saying, the first thing that happened to these children as they arrived at the school was this is quiz time.
Probably got. I mean, from what I remember, they did not have a good time. Uh,
Okay, I'm offer you
they they
a
got they
different.
got their haircut. They got all their possessions ripped from them and basically got modernized, if you want to say that. They were put in the clothing that the Europeans or the Americans were, which to them was like, like basically as if we would just all of a sudden decide that, hey, I'm gonna put like
Sandpaper.
a spandex on for no reason, and they were fed food that their digestive system just could not process, meaning that they probably were just having food poisoning all the fucking time.
Yeah,
So
you
just
get
great shit.
you get an A minus because you did miss out a couple details. The
Damn.
first thing that actually happened to them was exactly that. They were stripped of every single possession that could tie them back to their tribe. After, their was cut, which is something that a lot of tribes only do while mourning, which is extremely fucked. Then, they were dressed in European clothes and starch school uniforms, which were extremely uncomfortable. And lastly, they were prohibited of speaking in their native tongues, to a point where their names were replaced by English names that they would either pick from a list or if they didn't choose one, it would be given by the school official. After that, exactly that, their life was extreme hell. Punishments were rough, extremely rough and harsh. The food was not made in accordance with
Torture.
their digestive system. Yes, torture, absolutely. Like
Vietnam level
sitting
torture.
on brooms for hours with books on your hands type of torture.
Yeah, and locking little kids in little cubicles Not even
That
cubicles.
was not in this one. That was in Canada, which we will talk about later.
Fucking Canadians. The fucking French.
The fucking Canadians made.
Okay, that was horrendous. Don't do that ever again, Alpha, please.
Ooh, fuck, I'm sorry.
That's even worse. Anyways,
Okay, okay. Yeah, but going back to the genocide. Uh, one
back to
other
less
thing.
horrible shit.
Yeah, one other thing was extremely fucked, which is the fact that the school was not the most hygienic place to be in. And with these being Indians, their immune system was not fucking ready to the amount of diseases that they caught. The amount of deaths were so high that even though most of the bodies were delivered back to to their tribes, 147 students, if I'm not mistaken, were buried in the school site cemetery. Let me recheck that number as I think it might be a little off. It was
I mean,
actually,
any number over one is bad in this scenario. So
yes,
it is what it is.
180 students. It was even a higher, holy fuck, which died of a variety of diseases, but mostly tuberculosis. Now, once again, the objective of these schools was to completely deprive these children of their cultural heritage. That's why they were boarding schools, so that they couldn't go back to their tribes during the day and redo the all the process and that had been done with them. As such, when it came summertime, more than half of these students were put into intensive labor programs, which saw them do intense labor, which varied from industrial labor to being used as servants in rich people's houses, which meant that they could go without seeing their families for years. And one of the most important aspects of this is that even if you didn't die, the psychological trauma that would arrive from this type of living situation during your early years is abhorrent. Like, can you imagine spending years on end on a school that strips you of who you are without having any contact with your loved ones? And also, you were separated from other members of your tribe. You were prohibited of being in the same dorms. So you had zero ties with anyone.
No, it's horrible. That's how you
Yeah.
basically do systemic. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Genocide?
Yeah,
Cultural genocide?
not even cultural genocide, because at
Or
that point
just genocide?
it's just because like it's like, oh yeah, 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 like the strong ones, it's only cultural genocide, but the young ones, it's also like just genocide, just straight up just racial genocide or whatever the fuck, I don't
Yeah.
know what the term is. Like it's basically like, oh, if everything goes right, we'll just do cultural genocide, but if everything goes wrong, we'll just wipe out their whole
Yeah. And
community.
that's
Just fuck
where
it.
the slogan of the school comes in, which is kill the Indian, save the man, which makes me physically fucking pissed. And that is an euphemism.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the survivors, because they were survivors, led it to the tribes when they finally arrived back home that they felt like complete strangers. They did not, uh, they no longer spoke their mother tongue and had no cultural ties to their families and tribes, and which was also related by tribes themselves. And they also related all the psychological trauma that they were put through, which led to intergenerational cycles of abuse.
Yeah.
But
Generational trauma, as it's known
yeah,
on the street.
yeah. But you know what? all of those pictures of before the students came in and after the students finally finally survived these hellish conditions that were passed as a school served for the great purpose of leading everyone to believe that this was working really fucking well. So, more than 350 of these institutions popped up all around the United States, all of reservations, with more than 100 of them being owned by the government and others being owned by religious organizations. And
which
the punishments there were even worse because they did not have the woke aspects of Pratt's doctrine.
yeah,
That's where the heaviest punishments that you talked about came in, because also more than 100, I think it's 128 facilities of this type also popped up in Canada.
yeah, it was in the hundreds.
And
Yeah,
there were situations where they weren't even given names. There was one situation where the students were given numbers.
there was like a this one guy in Austria who really liked that idea. I
That's where
forget
my
his
mind
name.
went to.
I forget his name, but
I think it's something close to
hey,
Adolf
hey, no, no, no. I think it's like
Taylor,
Hibbler.
Himbo.
No, no, no. Hibby.
He
No,
had a funny stash.
yeah, I remember that. He had like these. He had like this little. Had this like little. I think it was like a book club or something. They were the. It was like a Yahtzee club. I forget what they're called.
Yeah, it had like a book called Mind Caffeine or something.
Yeah, I heard that he really liked burning coffee beans, right?
I also learned that he really liked blonde people.
Yeah, I mean,
Kind of a weird kink, but who am I to judge?
yeah, I mean, everybody has their kinks. Fucking, it is what it is.
Yeah,
But
okay.
anyways,
Back
back
to the
to
other side of the
other
tracks.
genocidal maniacs.
Yeah, so one of the other aspects of these schools was the fact that a lot of the time students were hired by people outside of the school who would use them as free labor and would pay directly to the schools, which breaks this little thing called child labor laws,
Yeah, and it's just
which
straight
is
up slavery.
beyond fucked.
Fuck the child labor laws. It's just straight up slavery. That's the first issue. Then it's
Yeah.
also the fact that they're children, which is at that point it's trivial because it's fucking slavery. So it is what it is. Like I mean, the fact that they were basically like what uh, they're being paid, but it's not even them. Like they're not even reaping any benefits from their work. It's just, oh yeah, yeah, pay the school. It's just like a
Yes.
distribution system for African, like for Africa, what for Native American slaves, basically at that point.
You
So
know why the Europeans never did invest in Native American slaves? It's because they died too quickly.
yeah, I mean, we just rather kill them.
No, 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 no.
We saw them as
We
aiming
didn't. We didn't
practice.
just kill them. We gave them blankets that we used for our sick, so they would die of smallpox.
Yeah, and then like we use them
That
as
is the
like we
what the
used
hell?
them to refine our artillery, right? Like we would see them in the distance, and we shot them, and then we were like, all right, this gun needs a little bit more strength. So like we
Oh my
used
god,
them
it's
as that. That was like they're like hitting practice, right? That was how we used them.
yeah. So this went on, and here is the worst part. It was mandatory for these children to be there. They weren't sent there by choice. There were situations where the children were literally kidnapped by armed forces who threatened the tribes by saying that they would cut off all medical and food supply if they did not give their children. I I was in the comments of a lot of these of the videos that I use as research, and I read some truly heartbreaking stories, which there are anecdotal evidence of the consequences of the trauma that these children, well, that these children suffered throughout years and years on end. And some of the stories there were truly heartbreaking. There was one person saying that their mother was completely estranged to her grandmother because her grandmother would make her mother, while when she was a child, clean the house on her knees until her knees bled, because that is what she was made to do in the boarding schools. And just like that small story, there are many others. The effects of these schools were like a ripple through a still pond. They are still echoing to this day. And the amount of crimes that were committed, we still don't exactly know them because it was only in 2020 that, if I'm mistaken, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Deb Halam. God damn it, I really did not want to mispronounce her name. Deb Haaland, if I'm not mistaken, who is the first Native American Secretary of the Interior, finally began to formally investigate the lasting consequences that these boarding schools left on these children. It was only in 2020.
And of course, like for many years, it was never really in the interest of the American government to really keep track of these
Why the fuck
atrocities.
would they? They were doing a great job.
So we'll never really know exactly 100% what went down. We'll never have a full picture of the atrocities that were committed, and
Yeah.
it's something
There was
that we will never, no matter really what happens, we'll never really be able to repay the,
yeah,
what these people lost.
there was a Vox video which was titled "How the American Government Stole Thousands of Children," and that is the best way to sum up what was done to these people. Going back to the Carlisle boarding school, it shut down in 1918. Pratt was dismissed from the school before World War One, if I'm not mistaken, and during World War One, sports stopped being held towards the school because some of the shit that they were doing came out, and as people were drafted into the war, less and less students came to the school, so it closed in 1918. But its legacy continued for many, many more years. It was only in 1978 that Indian parents gained the right to deny deny the process of basically kidnapping their children into these schools. It was only 1978 that you could grab your child and say, "No, you are not taking my children into these abhorrent, monstrous schools." And then after, during the 1980s and 1990s, they began to lose more and more financial support, and that was the death of it, basically. Now, most sorry, pardon me, most of the schools which are dedicated to the Indian population exist within reservation grounds, but there are still a lot of controversies when it comes to the standard of education which they receive and if it's in compliance with the federal standards. Still, once again, the heavy effects that these schools have. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. It's just there are many things about our history that pain me dearly. A lot of our civilizations are built on bloody and inhumane pasts. And the least we can do is remember the crimes that we committed so that we may never repeat them.
Yeah, I don't.
And still, while I was researching this, one of the things that I saw most commented on was the fact that this was not part of the US education system, and that there were people whose teachers went out of their way to say, this is not part of the education system. You will not be evaluated when it comes to this part of the education of the United States history. I'm going to tell you about it. And when you have to rely on individuals to tell these fundamentally necessary stories, you know that your system is flawed.
One thing too, I don't know if you have this part in the article, but one thing to take into account, which is always necessary with this type of issue, which the U.S. has always failed to do, and that is the concept of reparation. Mostly when it comes to do with issues that have historical magnitudes like this, and the U.S. is no stranger to doing entire civilizations wrong and then refusing to ever recognize it and do anything about it. Either
Not
that
completely
being,
wrong. They are not as strange to bombing the shit out of them and turning the blind eye.
yeah. So the one thing you talked about, that the one thing the least we can do is recognize what we have done, and that truly is the least we can do, because that is not the thing that we should do. What we should really do is reparation. Now, if you don't know what that means, it's something that we've talked about before, but it is first of all, one part of it is educating people. That is number one step of reparation, is just like you said, is making people aware of what has happened. That is important to make sure that history does not repeat itself. That is the main fundamental part of reparation. And then secondly is making sure that that the system is rebuilt, is changed, is restructured to remove systemic issues regarding specifically Native American people, which to this day are still in place. They have not disappeared. They still exist. There's a reason why there still is so many issues, and why Native Americans still are not, are still oppressed after all these years, which people are not even aware of, because, of course, they're not, because America doesn't want anybody to be aware of them. And of course, the other step is to invest in these communities, is to be equitable, and is to make sure that we invest in them so that they can actually, which is what Americans think is the reality of life, which isn't, to make sure that they are an actual equal starting ground in life to others, which they are not. And this doesn't just apply to Native Americans, this also applies to other minority communities in the US, like the black community, which is, something that people have been saying for, what, I was going to say
Two,
hundreds of
three,
years, but
300 years,
yeah,
400, maybe
and
300.
yet, the U.S. mostly, when it comes to, hand in hand with its liberal ideologies, the idea that everybody's equal and everybody starts on the same, on the same
Fuck liberals.
level, and that if you work hard enough, you'll make it. It is bullshit, because
Yeah.
these two minority groups are a good example to show that that is not true.
Imagine, let
Definitely
me give
not.
you
Definitely
a
not
small
when you have
example. Sorry
a
for cutting in.
what? Sorry.
Let me, sorry for cutting in. There was a great example of that exact situation that was given to me by a Black Lives Matter activist, which was, imagine that you have been playing Monopoly for 450 rounds, but you are not allowed to have any money, while the other players have normal rules. And then for 50 rounds, you gain money, and then that money is taken away suddenly, and then you are told, okay, now after 500 rounds, in which you have nothing, you can start on equal footing to the players that have had 500 rounds to prepare, raise money, build properties and infrastructure. That is not fair. That is not fair.
And that anecdote is not even correct because you are assuming that after all those 500 rounds that the system is still unbiased, which it
Oh,
still isn't.
no.
So it's a such a bullshit, and in my opinion, and this coming from me, for who knows me, is hilarious to say this, but such like a naive and like overly what's the word, like
Optimistic.
optimistic idea of what life is, which is it's not like that. We whilst we should be, we are not equal. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying that anybody is superior than others, but we economically and in terms of in the way our society is
Socially.
structured is that some people have it better than others, and that is not fair, and that needs to be changed, and our entire system needs to be, structured in a way that is fair to them. And
Karl
it's
Marx intensifies.
and it's not it's like you said, like think about it, you could even think in other anecdotes like a marathon, right? When you have an entire group of people who start a kilometer before the others, how can you, like, at the finish line, how is it, like, what do you expect, what
Oh, and
result
one
you
of the
expect?
runners that started late doesn't have a leg.
Yeah, and no, not even doesn't have a leg. Midway through the race, their leg, like, somebody just gets out a gun and shoots them in the fucking leg. Like
They're put on a wheelchair and told, roll, bitch.
it's not it's not fair. And I think that articles like this is important as for to write, because I think that it is fundamental to show that, I mean, you go to our website, you can hear our past episodes, and we have a clear ideology, right? And I think it's always good to, like, explain why we do have this ideology. How can we, in our right minds, and like delegitimize, fuck, what's the word?
I'm legitimate.
And legit, fuck, like, do the opposite of legit, fuck,
Unlegitimize.
undermine, that's another synonym. Undermine
Undermine.
other
Synonyms.
ideologies.
I enjoy them.
What, sorry?
Synonyms. I enjoy
Synonyms.
them.
Undermine
Synonym rules.
a certain ideology without even being able to say, hey, like, look at the facts, this is why this doesn't work, and why, when you look at the facts, ours work, right? Like, there needs to be there needs to be some sort of,
We are not impartial.
yeah, like
We are
this.
very clear about that, and I am happy with my impartiality. With my
Yeah, I
partiality.
mean, I
I am
I
stupid.
I'm not. We're not journalists. In fact, today I've been working on at school. I've been working on an essay exactly relating to media bias and just media having an agenda and all that shit.
There is a
And
fucking moth in my hand. Give me a sec.
at the end,
Fuck off, little bitch.
at the end, whilst I was writing my conclusion on my essay, I was basically, like, saying that, like, journalism needs to be unbiased. Journalism needs to be something that is impartial, something that is, showing you the facts and nothing else. They need to show you the facts so you can form an opinion. At the best, what news sources can do is gather a group of people or two people who have opposing views and let them debate so that you can get an idea of both sides of the argument. That is the only time that they should show an opinion. It's not their opinion, it is several people's opinion, so that you can understand this issue from different sides. So I started thinking whilst I was writing that, like, this is one of the reasons why I want to make so much. I put so much emphasis on the fact that Politdigm is not we're not journalists, and we will never be seen. We'll never be. We'll never consider ourselves as such,
Yeah,
because
it is not our objective to pass as as a journal. Basically,
yeah, we're
we
not.
write blogs, we write opinion pieces, not journal articles.
Yeah, we're not news sources. We are, for lack of a better term, we are a movement, right? We tend
We
to
are based.
we intend to grow a community of like-minded people. Therefore, we do not care if you do not agree with our ideas, because if you don't agree with our ideas, then we're not for you. It's that simple. Just turn off our podcast and leave. Like, no point in listening to us unless you are trying to change your opinions. Then of course we welcome you. So that is to us very important to make clear, because I was thinking even to myself, like, I'm a person that has such clear leftist views that even I don't want to watch a leftist news source. Like, I don't want that, because I know that that's going to give me biased facts. That means that my opinion will never be like will be rooted in good facts, right? Because the facts that I'm basing my opinion on are tailor made for my opinion, and that's never good. That should never really happen.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, I want to talk about something that I am also passionate about,
And it's
which
a big ass W.
yes, which has to do with some of the issues that we were just talking about. Definitely when it comes to uh, economic issues, which is that the actor strike, the SAG-AFTRA strike, has ended. It ended on I think was the 9th. Sorry, yeah, 9th of November. On Twitter, Politdigm made a tweet saying that we would be talking about this, and honestly, I almost forgot, but here we are. And whilst much information on the strike has on like what they have won has still not been made public, unfortunately, I do know that they supposedly did. They were able to win certain like safety nets. It's not even safety nets, like some sort of
The
safeguard
aspect that will
when it comes to AI, which is something that we talked about, which is great. Oh wait, hold on, they have released the contract. Oh, they released it today. Oh, that explains why I haven't found it yet.
even more based.
God damn it. But kind of doing some shitty summary agreement. Okay, this is not. I'm not a big fan of doing this on air, quote unquote. But this is what happens when you don't have to. Oh shit, it's large. The summary is large.
That is
And so I know it's a shitty
mm.
word for it. Holy shit, this is massive. What the fuck? How is this a summary? The fuck?
The joke writes itself.
God damn it. SAG after shit. Like, could have made it a little easier for us. It's a lot of fucking work. I guess I'll write an article about this fucking hell. I guess I'll make this a dedicated conversation. But anyways, it's great to see that the this actors union won. Of course, we are supporters of the idea of unionization. It's important.
Who would have guessed?
It's the one tool the workers have to fight against their corporate overlords, and it's
All my homies hate the corporate overlords.
all my homies hate the corporate overlords. So, of course, we're always glad to see that they did great. Of course, it is also important to mention that next year there's going to be more. Um, there's going to be more. There's going to be other unions which are going to have to renew their contracts, and as it seems, it's looking like they also will go on strike. This is, I believe, the newly formed. Uh, I think it's animated. Alpha, if you could do the research real quick. I think it's like the Animators Guild. I think it's a newly formed guild.
Give me the code, the keyword search.
I do not know.
Then fuck. Then
Wait, I'll look at uh what the union posted. Wait, I know. I actually retweeted this. Hold up. This is why I use Twitter like this.
here we go again.
Shit. Hold up. Where is it? Where is it? Come on. Where's the replies? Where are my replies? Wait, was it? No, it was not me. It was Palatine who retweeted it. Ah, that's why I can find it. Okay, so
Close.
next year, the IATSE and the Animation Guild will enter negotiations for their new contract, uh, which is normal, and of course, like if they do, expect us to talk about this, expect us to mention, exactly what they're fighting for. And of course, we like just like we did with SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild of America, we of course will be here to support them because, of course, we do. Like, look at Project Pop. That is literally like it's
Textbook definition of what we support.
yeah, it's like textbook definition of like why I started like Project Pop is this type of bullshit. In fact, I started doing Project Pop around the same time or like right after the Writers Guild started. So I definitely, I definitely was inspired. You could definitely say that. So of course we'll be here to support them, and of course we will be here to bring light upon the issues that they face. And the Animation Guild is definitely one that is in the shitter, because
Is in the shitter or is not in the shitter?
they are in the shitter. They are put in the shitter. In fact,
They are
to be
bit of shit.
specific, because I mean I don't think most people don't understand how overworked these type of uh, these unions like or the workers in these unions are put through. Like it's an immense amount of work, and in fact there's a reason why VFX workers are also thinking, and I believe they are voting to unionize because they themselves, with modern day films like Marvel films, which use a high amount of VFX, are overworked to like an unbelievable and just inhumane amount. There's the amount of crunch that they're made to do is completely unethical and just not right. And there's a reason why lately we've seen such a decline. We've seen such a rise in amount of films coming out, and we've seen such a decline in their quality, is because these workers are overworked, and most importantly, there's just a limit. There's just a limit to how much workers can work. And when you go over this certain amount, it's just shit starts getting shitty.
Whack.
And of course, that's when you start getting, threats that your workers are going to unionize. And that's when you start going, uh-oh. So I hope they do. I hope they unionize. They should unionize. I hope that they don't backtrack on that idea. I really do hope they do because it is very important that they do. Because I mean, again, that is a fundamental pillar as one of the I believe nine, is it, nine pillars of Project Pop, which is the right for unionization. It's to us something that every worker, yes, there are nine, uh, is
We can count. Don't worry.
yeah, we can count,
Badly.
is it's in fact it is pillar number 4, right to join trade unions. This value allows workers to come together to negotiate better wages, benefits, and fuck, the website reset, to better wages, benefits, and working conditions with their employers. This can empower workers and help create a more equal and just workplace. See, it's right here. Go to our website, please. I put so much work into it. I need people's attention.
Yeah, I am a.
But
I do know how much work you have put into that.
yeah, so it is very important to us, and this morning I was thinking to myself, like, I was, this is a joke, this is like what I'm about to say is in an ironic sense, which I was like, honestly, I'm in favor of union busting because I think that I should bust unions by giving them all the rights they want before they can even unionize. That is how I will bust these unions. I
You
will
know,
make
the
sure.
only type of union busting I want to see is when they bust down sexual style.
Bro, God damn it, you made the joke even worse. How the fuck did you do that?
It is one of my very talents.
God
The
damn it,
others
Alpha.
are being even more cursed than usual.
Yeah. So, of course, that is a joke because union busting is a horrible act. And if any listener, which is weird if that would be the case, but if anybody that hears this ever, if you actively try to do a union busting, I hope your mother doesn't like you anymore. I hope she disowns
All
you.
my homies hate Amazon.
Exactly. Amazon and Starbucks. Fuck
Yeah,
Starbucks.
also that. Fuck you, Starbucks. I like your coffee. You are a piece of shit company.
I am dependent on your products, and if I
I
don't
am
have
not
them,
dependent on their products. I use fuck Nespresso.
I use other coffees because I am
I
cheating
use
on you.
yeah.
Uh,
All of my coffees come out of a animal's ass. That
what?
is not a joke.
Wait,
Do you
what?
know about that?
No, I do not know
There
about
is
that.
a highly exotic, which is supposedly the best coffee in the world, which is fed to animals, and their digestive system gives the coffee a quality that is unparalleled in the natural world when it comes out of the other side. This has led to these animals being held in captivity and force fed coffee,
You're eating shit coffee, literally.
literally. And it costs a pretty penny. It is the
What the
most
fuck?
exotic coffee in the world, and supposedly the best coffee in the
This
world.
is why I drink water and I'm healthy. Jesus Christ.
I drink coffee,
Uh,
but I do not drink that.
I do not drink water.
It's the
But
same. I only function on the base of caffeine.
honestly, I need some water right now, so that's why I'm thinking about water.
Drinking water,
Uh,
everyone.
so yeah, unions are very important. They're something that I truly. I mean, it's funny because that I care about them so much when I've never worked a day in my life, in
I
a
have worked full of life,
traditional workforce.
and I wanted the fucking union to give me a good payday at the end of one fucking month of going to school. I am so sick of the education system. Goddamn,
There's a students union, right?
it doesn't do jack.
We gotta do something about
Last thing
this.
we got was a relaxation room that I don't even know where it is because it's only used for a specific portion of the school, even though that wasn't in the fine print. They misled us. They are fucked.
Yeah. Anyways, you said you had a question.
Okay,
Wait,
so
that we have a
as we have
question.
arrived at the end of our episode, and please do keep this brief unless you want to go into an entire episode about this. Do you believe that religion should be incorporated and married with the state?
No, not at all. Uh,
Based.
I am openly and happily an atheist. I do not believe in God. I do not believe in the
And I'm happy
concept.
for it.
I do not believe in the concept of God or spirituality or anything like that. I personally think that I have no issue. I am not that type of atheist that goes out there and hunts people down and makes fun of them for being religious. I
You're talking
think
about Redditors.
yeah, and Ricky Gervais. Um, and basically, I think, and I technically had this conversation this weekend, where I said that I think that it's very beautiful that people can find solace in stuff like religion,
Yeah.
because a lot of us are lost. A lot of us do not know what we want to do with our lives, and being dropped down on this God, this fuck, not God,
This
this
God earth.
this godforsaken earth, this fucking planet, can be scary, and it
Yeah.
is
Like
for a
we were
lot of
so
people.
stressed that we started a podcast and a blog.
Oh God, I almost died. I just almost coughed out a lung. Um, so taking that into account, I definitely understand the why, right? I understand why on an individual level people can be religious, and I think that that is, to me, that shows a almost necessity of it existing, right? It is to give people solace in life, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, that should never intervene with the state or anything related to politics or social issues or any stuff like that. Religion should never be a choosing, like a factor in that stuff. Everybody should have the freedom of practicing their religion, as long as it is, does not you know involve illegal acts like sacrifices or murder or
It's
or racial genocide, or God knows what the fuck is
You
going on.
fucking snowflake. I always sacrifice the homies to the Dark Lords.
Like, I don't know what the fuck is up with some cults out there. I don't even really care much about learning about cults because I feel like they're just a waste of human
I
essence.
find them funny in a deeply worrying psychological way.
Yeah, they're interesting to
To
uh,
study and
yeah, in a
be away from.
psychological sense, I guess. But yeah, I think that religion and state should be completely separate. In fact, I do not support or believe that religious institutions should exactly exist. I think
Once
that
again, based.
because a lot of them a lot of them are at the end of the day just taking advantage
Money
of
procedure.
those who do not know any better, in the sense that they are, they want to support what they believe in, they want to support, they want to invest in what they consider to be their god. And when you have an entire organization that looks at that and says, oh, you want to do that, you want to do that, you want to support your god, and so give us money, and that's to me that is
You want to go to
horrendous.
heaven? You can pay us a small fee, which guarantees a place for your soul.
To me, that is horrible and morally corrupt. I think that is disgusting. In fact, that's why I don't like the church. I don't like the concept of the way the church is as
You
an
don't like us as
organization.
religion. Period.
I do not have an issue with there being, a concept of, like, oh, like, there's this group where we come together and practice our faith. There's nothing wrong with that. But when, as soon as you start making it into like a business and something that
Yeah, they have to
earns,
go make it weird.
is that to go and make it weird. I cannot stand that. I think it's not only for those who are not religious. I think that it's bad, and even for those that are religious, I think it's bad because it is trying to me corrupt something that is almost beautiful, right? Something that is trying to,
Almost, if you squint.
yeah, almost, because you cannot ignore the historical past of such groups, and that's always hard for me to do. That's why
You shouldn't.
yeah, you shouldn't. And if you do, like, I've heard a lot of people being like, "Oh yeah, but like the Christian church is bad, but it's also done a lot of good." It's like, Holmes, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's not like that. The good does not justify the bad. Yo,
Yeah,
this guy saved the family by
by
putting himself in front of the bullets at war. Uh, oh no, what is this? He has an SS badge on his uniform. Oh fuck!
oh, he was a good SS member. Fuck, I hated saying that.
Don't you fucking dare!
I hated saying that even as a fucking ironic joke. So yeah, that's my opinion. I believe in the total separation uh, of
Church
religion
and
and
state.
state. Again, to reiterate, I think that
Studies were based when it came to that because we had a base guy saying, "Yeah, all my homies hate the religion and state when they come together."
yeah, I mean, the whole concept. I mean, this is why I cannot stand Israel as a Zionist. The whole concept of Zionism, because I believe that the concept of state based off of religion is atrocious. I think that it's bullshit. I think it never works.
Based.
It never works. Look at the past. It always ends up badly, or just ends up not being like, yeah. There's only two results to a religious state.
Never
Is
a good
either
time.
the religion like fades away and just becomes a normal state, or like some sort of war or some horrible shit happens, or there's oppressed people, or there's always some horrendous thing going on in there. So, and I'm not, and then I'm, and again, this is very important to mention. We're not talking about a specific religion. We're not, this what we're saying right now can be easily twisted to be Islamophobic, or
Anti-Semite.
anti-Semitic, etc., etc. That is not the point.
Anti-Semite. Oh my god.
We're
English
not.
is not my first language.
That is, if you do that, first of all, you're being ingenuine, and second of all, that is not what is in case. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about religion as a whole. It does not matter which religion it is. It does not matter how popular or how unpopular it is. It should never be involved in state. It should never have. It should never be openly involved in state. It should never be involved in the state behind the scenes, which is pretty much what U.S. does. Definitely when it comes to the Conservative Party, and so on and so on. So
Yeah.
yeah, take
Well, you
that
had your
into
fun with your answer, and seeing as though it was long as fuck,
yeah.
I'm gonna give it a smaller answer.
Go ahead.
Religion, by itself, is devoid of logic, because, for it to work, one cannot justify the concepts that are described in religious practices as something logical. So, when you try to mix something that is, by its nature, illogical with something that needs to be calculated, impartial, and logical, you get a fucking whoopsie daisy.
Yeah, I mean that's it's true. I was
I'm here
thinking.
all week.
You know, like, I think that's you're giving definitely a more. I was trying to be tame with my answer. Whilst I agree with what you said, I'm not. I'm not being here like, oh yeah, what was I? What the fuck? I completely lost what the fuck I was gonna say. This is what happens when you're tired and sleep deprived. Uh,
We are students, have you noticed?
yeah, what you said is true. Like you cannot. Like a state is a very. I mean, I was gonna say well-oiled machine, but it's not very well-oiled.
It is
It's a
fully,
very tricky machine to figure out. It's something that is very,
yeah,
it needs to be fine-tuned. It's something that needs to be carefully thought out.
yeah. Like
Uh,
I was studying for my philosophy exam, and there was a huge section of the program which was literally the views on certain authors and certain influential people about religion, and if you could prove the existence of God through rational thought. And one of the most based shit I have ever heard in my entire life was when a colleague of mine literally turned to the teacher and said, "Teacher, I just gave my answer, and I want you to look at it because I've came to the conclusion that not only can't you prove that God exists with rational thought, you can disprove that he exists with rational thought,"
yeah, you
which
don't
is
even. It's funny because like
based.
there's this sort of there's always this picture painted of like religion versus science, which is a very easy
Not
argument to make.
religion, faith versus rationale.
But it's something that is important to keep in mind is first of all, you can disprove religion and you can first of all you can disprove religion with religion, which is funny because
Yeah,
like can't like two religions can't both be true. If you see them as like this separate thing, you can look at them as one thing. You can see them as an
yeah.
interpretation of the same thing,
The
which
Romans and the Vikings did not get along.
which
Like the Romans thought the Vikings basically had one of their gods immigrate to the northern part of Europe, and that's why they started their own pantheon.
like you can't like if there's a Christian God, there can't be another God, right? If you have a religion that its whole concept is that there's one God, then surely if there's a religion with another God, then which God is it? And why is one God more valid than the other? It isn't. That's the answer. You can't I don't know, put him in a fucking boxing ring and let them duke out. Like there's not something that you can say like one is objectively more real than the other. You can't. Therefore, you can disprove religion with religion itself. So that's the first thing. And then if you want to do it like you said, purely in a rational way of thought, you can do it. You can disprove religion purely through rational thought. And then if you want to disprove it with science, then it's like it's it's fucking it's easy as hell because
It's
like
child's play.
it's just like yeah, like science proves that it's just like you can't prove something that's doesn't exist. Period. Like you can't put like an old science teacher of mine used to say an old science teacher of me and Alpha's used to say that the day that we can put God in a test tube is the day that I'll believe in it. And it's like yeah, like there you go, done. It's one phrase,
Yeah,
nothing
that is
else. Like
fucking I love that teacher.
Like,
I I still talk to them.
yeah, same. I'll still see him around. And it's funny because you see a lot of religious people trying to prove God by looking at the gaps of science, which is something that infuriates the fuck out of me. Because it's like you can like go, all right, what's the like one of their easiest like go-tos is look at the origin of the universe. The origin of the universe is the Big Bang. What is the origin of Big Bang? We don't know, therefore God is real. It's like, what the fuck? What? No, that's not how shit works.
Yeah.
Just because we don't know what happens before that does not
That
justify.
is that is a rational fallacy.
Yeah, it's like you
Literally
can't
have that in my fucking textbook as a fallacy.
like
But
to
I do think we have gone on long enough.
yeah, like you can't. Sorry, let me just conclude this. Like
God damn it.
you can't justify as like, yeah, there's nothing before the Big Bang, therefore something must have created the Big Bang. A God must have created the Big Bang. And then I ask you, then where did
Who
God come
created
from?
God? God.
God, but yeah, but what created that God? God. Then what created that other God? God. Then what is? Are you
No, no,
talking?
it's not even that. It's just who created God? God, how?
Then
He
is
can
what?
do everything.
Then what is it?
How?
Is then, but then I speak. Then I like being an annoying little shit. Was like, oh wait, so if a God created a God, is it like is that like a family? Is that like a is that like a parent and a child? So wait,
That's why he's the Father and the Son.
are you
Ignore Jesus.
are you saying that maybe they could have reproduced? Wait, or is it like maybe God is like an alien, right? Maybe they're like some sort of
No, stop, stop.
right?
No, we are not getting into this.
I know.
We're not going the Scientology way.
I'm not. No, because like that's the thing is like I like doing the Scientology way just to piss them off because I don't believe it either. But it's like
I feel Tom Cruise in my walls.
it's
Shut up.
like but like it's like when you start arguing to me with bullshit ideas, I must bullshit you back. You know what I mean? Like that's my
You
logic.
get a gong question and a gong answer.
Answer. That's it. That's you gotta ask me stupid questions. I give you stupid answers. So with that
God, I love that game.
being said, make sure to support us over on Patreon if you like our content, and of course to join
Or
our
just
Discord
come to the
community.
Discord and hang around.
Yeah, make sure
Because
to
it
talk
is
to us.
free.
Give us topic ideas or talk to us about the topics you would like to see us cover. Uh, and of course, there's also the third option, which is Bully Alpha. It's always fun. I do it all the time. It's pretty fun. It's pretty easy target. And he doesn't seem to complain, so you know it's a win-win for everybody.
My
Um,
lawyers have advised me to not comment on this matter.
my lawyers have. Okay. Oh shit.
And, well, everyone, that has been another episode of the Politdigm podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And even if you just had it on the background, we still thank you because every view counts. And every download also counts, even if you don't get all of our insane ramblings.
Yeah, although obviously, to be fair, we don't really give a shit about the numbers. What we care is that, I mean, you could watch this 5 times as long as you get it. You could watch this 30 times. If it takes you 30 times to fully
Hell, you
understand
can
this
have this
episode,
as your wake up alarm or how you go to sleep with our
just have
soft,
Alpha's voice
rumbling
just to wake
voice.
you up in the morning because that will terrify the fuck out of
That
you.
is a fucking nightmare. Oh my god. I
Just
do not wish that
wake
upon
up,
anyone.
wake up, wake up. Anyways,
That will make me crazy.
before I lose my voice, let's finish this episode. So yeah, we'll see you all next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Be good people.